Hi, this is Jamie Magrich coming to you from my craft table. Today I'd like to show you how to make this card. I'd like to welcome you to my craft table. So let's get started. Today I'm going to be using the Petals. This particular stamp here, this one here. Then this one doesn't have a sentiment, so I grabbed a sentiment out of Flourishing Phrases. You can use just a note. Today I'm going to be using thank you so very much. Okay. Then for consumables, I have a couple pieces of scrap, Whisper White. I have some dimensionals, snail adhesive. I have a strip, it's a scrap that I cut off of another card base, which is about 1/4 of an inch wide, and it just needs to be 4 1/4 inches long or 4 inches long. I have a piece of shimmer paper, which is 4 by 5 1/4. A piece of rich raspberry, which is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and a card base, which is the thick, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored and folded at 4 1/4. I've got my stamps. We're going to be using a blender pen, the 4-petal punch, which you can get as the bundle with the Petals until the next catalog comes out. It is carrying over, but it won't be a bundle. And for inks, we have Rich Raspberry, Melon Mambo, Pear Pizzazz, and we'll need a pair of snips just to trim off that little bit of paper. And we'll need a piece of ribbon. This is ivory ribbon. There's a really pretty one coming out. This one's going to be retired at the end of this catalog, but there's a really pretty new one coming out that's replacing it. Okay, so let's get started. I move some of this stuff out of the way so I actually have a space. The first thing I'm going to want to do, let's go ahead and stamp out the flowers. I need 3 flowers with the Melon Mambo ink. And you'll notice I have a little black dot on the tip of one of my petals. I also put a little black dot on the tip of my punch. So if you kind of make sure this is sitting the same way that it would be if you're putting the punch in it, it'll make it easier to punch it out. So let's go ahead and stamp that. I think I can get one on this one. There's a hair there. Make sure it doesn't interfere. And I think I can get 2 onto this one. Okay, awesome. I'm done with that ink pad. We might as well, let's set them aside and let them dry. Okay, then we're going to bring in our shimmer paper. And we're going to bring in this stamp and the Pear Pizzazz ink. Okay, we're going to make a wreath. So I'm going to start like right in the middle here and just stamp. And then I'm going to line this up with the tip of that and stamp again all the way around. Okay, then I've already stamped off because I stamped there, so then I'm gonna go in between those two and stamp again, and then on the rest of them I'm gonna have to stamp off, stamp off. I'm just kind of filling in here so that it makes a little bit fuller of a wreath. Stamp off. off, stamp off, and stamp off. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think I want one more over here. Alright, now I'm done with that stamp. We're going to bring in this one and the rich raspberry ink. And we're going to stamp this a couple times. Over here. I'm going to stamp it a couple times over here. And I want one going down this way. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, sorry about that interruption. My husband's car's in the shop and it was them calling to tell us it was ready. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see this next step a little bit better. Oops, wrong way. I gotta get used to this. Push it up here some. Alright. You can see those little sprigs that we stamped here. And all I'm going to do is take the blender pen and use the ink that we stamped there to color in those little berries or the little flowers on that. I'm not using any other ink, just the ink that is already stamped onto the card. Okay, and it would have probably been better if I didn't have to go answer the phone, because I had a little bit of time to drive. So what I'm going to do is open this up. I grab a block, just ink a little bit onto my block, pick that up so I can color in some of these a little bit better. I don't want it real dark, I just want a little tiny bit of color. There we go, that's better. Now if you do it right after you color it, you don't need to pick up any other color, because there's plenty of color then. But it's been a few minutes, so it already had dried a little bit. Alrighty. And that's that. Alright. Oh, and then you just scribble off the until it runs clear. The tip will be stained, but it won't make any difference. Okay, so now we're going to bring in the punch and our flowers. We're going to line up, punch out the flowers. Alright, I got one more to do. This one I missed a little tip of that. It's alright, it'll work anyway. Okay, we're going to bring in 3 dimensionals. Put 1 dimensional on the back of each one of these flowers. You put 1 flower there, 1 flower in this vicinity, and 1 flower here. Let's see. Let me do this so that, there we go. That looks good. So let's glue them down. And I put them in a way so I can see all my sprigs. It's kind of making a wreath around the page. And I didn't stamp my sentiment yet, so I suppose I better do that. There we go. Okay, now let's bring in the sentiment. I'm going to use the Fresh Fig ink again for that. And I'm going to stamp it right in here in this vicinity here. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in this little strip. I'm going to glue it down onto the card there. So I'm going to use Tombow. I didn't say we'd need it in the beginning because I was not thinking about it. Okay, put that up here like that. Okay, now we're going to bring in our ribbon. I'm going to flip this over, flip off this, put the scissor up against the edge of the card and clip off those extra pieces. Okay, then we're going to bring in our ribbon. We're going to put some snail on the back of the card. And place our ribbon on top of that pink strip a little bit. Roll it over to the back and adhere it into that snail we put on the back. Now this is stretchy, so don't pull it too tight because then it'll bow the card, but you want it not to be saggy either. Okay, then we're going to put snail on the back of this. I like to use a lot of adhesive. And we're going to mount that to our rich raspberry piece, and there's just a 1/8 of an inch border or 1/16 of an inch border all the way around it because it's a 1/8 of an inch larger than the... Okay, and then we're going to mount that to the front of our card. And I'll just use the Tombow, it's right here. Ah! I got glue all down the front of my shirt. And again, there's going to be a little bit of a white border around the edge. Oh, my ribbon has moved. Can I fix it before it totally sets? I think so. There we go. And there you go. There's our card for today. There's the one that I did previously. Here's the one I just did for you now. Well, thank you so much for joining me at my craft table. I hope you have a great rest of your day.